I think the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes, with experience, I can tell you, first 5 or 10 minutes of any interview, you would know. When I go back to my business, when we did a lot of hiring of people and candidates. No, I think, we all have to humble ourselves. We're humans at the end of the day. There's bound to be mistakes that we make. What's important, there are two things you can do. Sit down, brood about it to say that I made a mistake, I shouldn't have. What was I thinking at that point?
That's wrong.
That'll be there for the first 5-10 minutes.
That's it.
But then afterwards, you need to pick yourself back together and say, you know what, okay, something went wrong. What can I learn from this?
Yep.
But how do you retain people? I think that's where a core of what as talent management folks do comes to play. Because it's not about conducting trainings. It's about driving that culture. Firstly, I'd say don't be the next any person, be the first yourself.
Hello viewers, I hope you're all doing good. This is Professor Guru Prasad and you're watching GIBS IRE Talks Podcast, a platform where we explore some real stories of innovation, resilience and purpose. Well, in my numerous interactions with my corporate friends, what I always tend to understand that's the most challenging part today is talent management. Okay, this is a very broad domain and retaining, finding the best hiring, all that is a real challenge today, despite of all the technological revolution that we have seen in India. So to discuss and deliberate on the same topic, I have my good friend today, Mr. Anjan A, the Vice President of Talent Management from Northern Trust. On behalf of all my viewers, let me extend a heartfelt welcome to you. Welcome, Anjan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mr. Guru Prasad. Thank you.
Pleasure. Likewise, such a pleasure having you with us. As I just mentioned about my opening remarks of the talent management, before I get into the subject, I would love to know something about your past, meaning your school days, your college days. How was that? I generally tend to ask this question because most of the time, there is no relation of what you had the journey back then and what is going on now. So is that the same case with you?
Not entirely. Okay. So I think if I go back to my roots, so I was born in Mumbai.
Okay.
My native is Chennai, but I've been in Bangalore for about 34 years now. So I'm a Bangalorean by heart. So my entire schooling and colleging happened in Bangalore. So if I go back to my school days, I think I was a talkative kid from my childhood. So I knew I can speak. But I think over a period of time, you tend to realize that there is a purpose behind what you do. And how you shape yourselves as an individual. But I think those are memorable days in terms of school, college. I think you have a lot of fun. And the only difference I see from then to now is we had no responsibilities back then and we have a lot of responsibilities now.
Yes.
So that's the difference that you find in that journey. But how was my school and college days? It was as normal as any kid back in the 90s. Don't guess my age. But we were from a very humble background, a simple, close-knitted family, if you would may. But a time from my childhood that I don't want to go back to, or possibly which changed a lot of dynamics for me early up in life, is I'm a single parent mother. I mean, my mother passed away way back when I was about just 10 years old. So that was like a turning point in life. But I think from then on, I've not seen back in terms of, at least I'm very grateful to my father, who's educated me and brought me to where I am today, and now in front of you. But I think that is a shift that happened early up in my career, which helped me stay humble, grounded. And I think a lot of that reflects in who I am as a person today. And I think that's a journey that's come from then till now.
Do you agree with this statement? The words or terminologies that you mentioned, grounded, humble, has become very costly these days.
Yes.
You agree?
I certainly agree, because I think there's a lot of people who, how do I put this? They want to stay grounded superficially, but they truly aren't. So the idea is, how can you be your authentic self wherever you go? Be the same person. I believe strongly in this. What I am today in my actual life or my professional life, there are no barriers.
Right.
I'm the same person.
Right.
But what differs is each place comes with its own responsibilities. When you're at your personal space, you have certain responsibilities. When you're at work, you have certain responsibilities. So I think knowing your roots and from where you came from is always very important, because you didn't make it there one early night and then some shining star came in and life didn't change. So, but those experiences that you go through are the experiences that you grow through. So I think that's what I've
I love this word.
strongly believed over a period of time.
Where do you think the gap is? Is it in the education setup or is it in the upbringing? Why do we tend to blame the generation? Oh, this generation is like that. They're not humble. They're not grounded. I don't think it's right statement.
I also disagree with that. I think a lot comes from an individual choice.
Right.
So upbringing is not something that we have control over as children.
Right.
How would you decide which culture setup do you get groomed through, or what family setup that you have? Because all of that is something that you go through every single day as an experience. And when you're a kid, why will you even think about all these things?
Right.
But when you grow up, as you grow stage by stage, there is a point in life where you start getting mature. Maturity steps in.
Right.
And then it becomes an individual choice. So you cannot blame the surroundings for your shortcomings, if I would put it politely. And you'll have to start looking at yourself in the mirror as a reflection of you and see, is this the person I want to be? And make that conscious choice to be that person every single day. They say, some people, and don't quote me wrong here, but I have seen through my life, some people fake it.
Right.
But there's only so much you can fake it. And at some point in time, authenticity is what takes it over.
Absolutely.
And being consistent and being authentic is core for what you do in your life. So it's very, very important. Right. Which sadly today we don't get to see a lot. But that doesn't mean, but I've been very fortunate and privileged to have a good group of people that I'm associated with today who share similar values.
Yeah.
So I think it's about how you go to scout who you want to. And then when you know you're not going to gain anything from a certain set of people, how do you maintain your distance?
Absolutely.
But at the same time, they're important. Don't take me wrong. They're important because they could be your biggest critiques.
Yes.
To really give you a harsh perspective to say who you are and what you need to improve on.
And how do you take it? You take it positively?
I think it's about how you take it realistically.
Great.
So let's not add a positive or negative to it.
Okay.
Take it as it is, raw,
Fantastic.
realistic. When we add positive things to it, we are trying to get guilty, right? we want to say, as I call it from my experience, fishing for compliments.
Sure.
So rather take it realistically. One, reflect. Take what you want to, and what you think does not make sense, let it go. As simple as that.
Take us through your college days, and how was it?
Well, college days, honestly, I love my degree days.
Okay.
My undergraduate days versus my PUC days. Because I think the set of people that I associated with during my undergraduate days was fantastic. And they're now friends for life.
Wow.
And we still meet yearly once. All of us are in different walks of life. And the best part is we complement each other. So we learn from each other and we've grown together. So there's a lot of challenges all of us went through in our own individual lives. But I think the fact when we were together, there was some magic that brewed in us. And I think so that really helped me shape a lot of experiences and built a lot of confidence in me, to be honest. A lot of confidence built during my undergraduate.
So you were very clear on your career path then? On your graduation day?
Yes.
This is what I should be after.
At least I was fortunate to have that clarity.
Great.
But then fun started later, and I'll tell you how. So I picked up HR. So I always had a flair to work with people.
Great.
So, unlocking potentials in people and working with people really, is something I'm very passionate about. So right from day one. And when you help people, more than what you give, you learn from them.
Absolutely.
And I'm a strong believer of that.
Absolutely.
So when you start tasting that personal satisfaction, that's more than any titles of money that can offer you. So I was very clear. I picked up human resources, my undergraduate. And I did Bachelor's of Business Management back then. It was called BBM. Now it's BBA.
Yes.
But when we did it, it was called BBM.
Yeah.
So it was great because you get to wear, it was fun because you get to wear a coat and get to college, and it was all a big thing for us, right? So standing in front of a lot of people, speaking, that's where I think I discovered myself that I can speak. I have it in me to influence an audience. I have it in me to have that stage presence and that spontaneous thinking. Some of these aspects built in me.
I'm sure you used all the platforms that was given to you in your
Yes.
degree
I mean,
days.
we used to participate in every single
That's important.
fest.
Yep.
And given I was in a college, and I don't want to take the name of my college here, but I was in a college which was not a college that was looked high upon. It was a simple college.
Right.
So when we used to go to a lot of forums and competitions, a lot of people from the other colleges say, "Oh, this guy's from this college." So they used to look down upon you. Now that's where I say you have a choice,
Right.
whether you respond or you react. I chose to respond.
Fantastic.
So we went to the stage when you have your presence, when you do what you do best, and you've worked very hard. Hard work pays.
Absolutely.
Over anything else.
Very true.
And I think hands down we positioned ourselves to bring a lot of brand for our college.
Great.
We positioned ourselves to learn a lot through the process. And I think we started discovering each of our strengths. And that's the best part. I was talking to you about we are 5 of us. And I think each of us complement each of our strengths.
Lovely.
And that's where I think you start growing together.
Absolutely.
And there was no looking back. But then it so happened that we graduated in the fantastic year of 2009. And you know what happened in
global economic recession.
Global economic crisis. So we were all excited that we graduated, and we were going to get these fancy companies coming to the office, and then we were all called to the office.
Forget the fancy companies. I mean, I believe the employment itself was in danger.
Right. So what then happened was our HOD called all of us to college. We were all excited. And, I mean, there's only so much that we had access to internet back then. So the session and everything was accessible, but we didn't know it will impact us so much. So we went to college and we were in our auditorium. I still remember that auditorium we had in college. So they had built that fresh new auditorium, and our HOD came in and he said, "Students, it's great to see all of you are graduating and everything, but we sadly to say that there's not going to be a single company coming into the office for recruitment because of the recession." So they actually had a table and a chair and a person who was giving out resumes to people. So life hit hard then, to be honest. So I wanted to study further.
Okay.
But then I went back and discussed at home. So dad was like, "I think you should start working."
Okay.
Because there's only so much that I can afford right now from an education standpoint. So, and back then, doing MBAs from any Riven college was not a mark. You had to write the exams and do it from a good college, so you get placed very well. So I said, okay, let's start working. Let's start searching for a job. So I still remember this, June 2009. June first week is when we finished. And June 2009, back then Volvos had just begun in Bangalore, and you get these daily passes. So going to every single tech park in Bangalore, get up in the morning, get ready, have a quick breakfast, wear your BBM, blazer, get into the bus and keep going. And it was mayhem everywhere. So there were tents, there were makeshift tents, literally. And people used to hand out tokens to you. So we used to have boxes, huge boxes, where they said, drop your resume. Back then, digital was not that much.
Yeah, it was.
We still had our physical copy of resumes, right?
True.
So drop it in the boxes. We'll get back to you if we have to get back to you. So it was a crazy set of atmosphere. And then
How long you did that?
about a month. And I applied through, we only had Monster and Naukri back then.
Back then, yes.
Right? So not a lot of portals like what we see today, or accessibility that we see today. So I applied every single place. There was not a place that I heard back. I didn't get anything, no calls, nothing. And I was fixated on HR. So that's when I think they say sometimes you need friends to come and tell you to do something different. Back then I had a senior in my group in vicinity. He's a very close family friend. And he came to me and said, "You know what? You're mad. Right now is finding a job is important. So what if it's HR? Will you not be able to do well in finance? Why don't you go search for a job in finance? Take what you get, and then you can move on when you want to." I said, finance and me never go together. Yeah, I always thought of it being a HR. I have a clear path. That's what I want to do, and that's where life tells you to change, like make that shift. So he said, "There's a walk-in happening. It's a fairly new company. It's called the company is called Northern Trust. You come there." So I said, "Okay, fair." And it was a huge set of people outside that company. There were about 2,000 people standing there. And we had to, and back in the days, you didn't have mobile numbers, right? So I had a very small phone, the Nokia 1100, which was SOS phone.
I know.
And every minute was like, you just speak and keep it back because it charges a lot of money. So I called my dad up and I said, I think it's better I come back home because every third person I meet here is an ICFI Hyderabad, is from Symbiosis, is from all the renowned organizations. And I'm, after all, a simple undergraduate from a very simple college. So he said, his response were very funny. So he said, you spent so much time in a Volvo bus and went there, give the interview and come back. So no matter what. And I think that changed things because when he said that, I thought to myself, okay, let's give the interview. And suddenly, what was a nervous or anxiousness turned into a confidence to say, I don't have anything to lose.
Automatically, it boosts your confidence.
So I said, I have nothing to lose. So I went in and I sat through the interview setting and they suddenly said, both of you stay back, the rest of you go. And my mind, I was running, and there was this normal group discussion around. So in my mind, it was running saying, we both are the ones rejected, the rest are selected. Right? That's what was running in my mind. So I was like, okay, I think our struggle will continue. Then finally, the interviewer said, you both are selected, the rest of them are rejected and they've sent back. I was like, okay. And there was no looking back after that.
Lovely.
I think I've been there with the same firm for about 16 years now.
Fantastic.
So it's how you use the opportunity you get to somewhere make that shift in your career. And today I'm doing what I wanted to do. So sometimes I think to myself, would I have been very different if I started doing this way back in 2009, or would it be any different? And I would say it would be no different. Your core values never change. The fact that you have that ability to continuously have that willingness to learn, stay humble, and try and see how much value you can bring to the table consciously over a period of time. I think that's been some of the highlights of how I've seen my journey.
That's great. I mean, did you ever imagine that you would end up in your first job in the world's largest financial hub?
No. Honestly, no. And when I got the job, I was elated because in a period of recession, among 2,000 people, to be getting that job, I said, is a privilege. And maybe that could have been one of the driving factors to say, when you found something, when you were struggling to get some job, because that 30 days changed my life. Because when I was going, constantly applying and no rejections. So
can I ask you this? What was so different from Anjan compared to the remaining 2,000 who were part of that?
Correct. Interview? So you tend to think, sometimes it's destiny, sometimes it's fate, sometimes it's you being there at that point in time and the opportunity that comes to you.
In fact, you were the one wanted to go back from the interview.
Correct. Right? But then things changed. So, which is wonderful to see. So it's great to see that your ability was recognized by somebody. And I'm grateful for that person who was in that seat at the table at that point in time, that they saw something in me which shaped my career and which I am today right now. So which is why I say, never forget your roots. Never forget from where you came from. And then because all of this looks all shiny today, but you never know what's tomorrow.
Absolutely.
The plane crash is
a
great example to iterate that. But I think it's important to know where you come from and how do you make the opportunity you get and turn that into something that you really strive and work hard for.
That's the key.
So if I had thought to myself 16 years ago when I started in finance to say, I'm very bad at this, I don't think I'm going to be doing anything better. And we all had in mind, trust me, we all had in our mind that because of the recession, we might lose our jobs in a year, right? In a year or two, they might say, because it's easy to get the fresh blood out, right? So it's easy to train them. But the things that changed from then to now, it's been seen a lot of ups and downs, seen a lot of changes. I have done a lot of shifts in my career too, which not always was vertical, but I've done lateral moves as well. And then through my journey, the core which I spoke about from my graduation remains because I felt over a period of time that I have that ability to influence people.
Great.
I'm able to, in my manner of articulation, people find it easy to understand.
Absolutely.
It could be anything from a topic to a verbiage to how you speak with an individual. the fact that if you're able to make someone comfortable in a conversation, and I think it becomes more easy to connect to that person on a personal level.
Very true.
And they would move the mountains for you, correct? So, and you would for them as well.
True.
So it's a mutual benefit. It's never one-sided. So when you start to realize that over a period of time, and then it became core to me that this is all I always wanted to do. I want to get into the space of facilitation. I want to get into behavioral trainings. I want to get into talent management. But it wasn't an easy journey. So like a lot of people, I think I had to sit down and chalk my path, talk to my mentors, talk to people and say, this is what I wish to do. This is what I want to do. But at the same time, have my options open, have a dual career in band to say, this works great. Otherwise, plan B, plan C, and plan D. So you'll have to have all your plans ready. But it worked out. So I had to wait for about 7.5 years in my middle batch to really sit down and think through. But then it worked. It happened. The opportunity came. A lot of people say you're now in the space where you have to be.
Absolutely.
But I think I envisioned. So I always believe in this power of manifestation and envisioning. So sometimes when you work very hard towards something, it really happens over a period of time. And I think you will have to put your efforts, and it will come to you at some point in time.
Before I get into your 16-year beautiful journey, one question of the past again. The moment you said your dad that you got selected in this, how was his reaction?
Oh, it was very emotional for me as well as a moment, because I think I mean, and I can share that here with confidence, is that moment when I was actually passing out my graduation, we were not doing very well personally too. So we were going through a lot of hard times and probably not a great patch of life that we possibly look back to see. And in that moment, the silver lining was to get a job. Okay. And in your own small way, back then the salaries were very limited.
I know.
But in your own small way, you were able to make that meaningful difference in your house. And you see that shift, right? So you did not have any responsibility and you were working. And you were supportive, don't take me wrong. So he was very supportive. My dad was a teacher. He still teaches. And he's a maths teacher. So you're supportive, but from a support, you start becoming responsible. There's a shift that you see. And I think it was a great feeling. You get emotional about it when you think about it today. But I think it was a fantastic feeling to have that. And then a great silver lining at that point in time to get that job. And so anybody who goes through, a lot of people go through a lot of hardships in life. But when you go through it, you find one silver lining that comes by. I think it changes a lot of things. So it was like that for us.
Now let's get into this journey of yours.
Sure.
16 years back, you were the one standing in front of the Northern Trust office, unaware or unsure whether you will be a part of this team. And now you are recruiting, you are hiring, and you are training. How does that feel?
I think it feels great. So it feels great that you've been able to make a lot of meaningful contributions over such this period of time. And more than anything, you're able to have impacted a lot of lives along the way because you work with so many different sets of people and working with them, helping them grow is also probably a means for you to grow too, because I've always seen it that way. And my focus has been very simple. Stay committed to what you do. If you're doing something, do it 100%. No half-heartedness. So, or say no and step back. Because if you're into something, you have to be in it 100%.
Right.
And you have to have that commitment to see it through.
True.
So, from the start, and I think I have kept it consistent to see that, one, integrity is very important for me.
Absolutely.
Two, willingness to learn from anybody and everybody. And three, never have a sense of ego to take the best of you. I think you need to, you have something today, you're grateful for it, but how could you give back? The constant urge to give back is what has helped shape that journey for such a long time. And I think when you look at it today, I look at it at 16 years. But when I think back, time just went by. And the opportunities came when it came. And I was fortunate to be under a good amount of good leadership with a set of people and have that chance to learn from them.
Correct.
And then take some of those learnings and see how I evolve through it. And then give that back So it's a circle of life, right? So you learn some things from your leaders, and in all candor, some things that you should do, some things that you should not do, and then how you shape that to yourself, and then it's a constant learning, Mr. Guru Prasad. See, because you're not always going to be perfect, okay? But how do you find confidence in embracing your imperfection is where the true, essence lies.
100% agree. Another very unique thing in you is, correct me if I'm wrong, in our generations, I see people having their resumes, which talks about a lot of companies. And how have you been able to stick to one for the last 16 years?
I think through the journey, when you have, if I look back now, every 2.5 years, I've got a chance to do something different.
Exactly.
So I've learned. So the whole aspect, whenever you get a chance to learn something new, every intervals of time, you would not even think of doing something outside of it.
Okay.
Right? Now, were there opportunities or were there moments in my career where I thought I should be looking out?
I was supposed to ask you that.
Yes, definitely, yes. And I'll be very, what do I say, overly optimistic if I say no. There were scenarios where I always wanted to, check outside. But I think...
But people also tried to poach you?
Well, it did happen in my early part of the career. We used to get calls. I think back in 2010, 11 was when we were back in boom.
True.
We're off the recession and then started getting calls. But I think what truly stuck to me is, if I'm going away from this space, I need to be doing something different than what I'm doing here. Okay. Otherwise, what's the point in going? Because you're going to do the same thing in a different environment altogether. Of course, the experiences could be different and the learnings could be different. But at the core, it's going to be the same job.
Sure.
But if you go out and do something very different from what you're doing right now, then it makes sense to me. Sense. So, but internally, I've been fortunate to find myself moving around different spaces, sometimes vertically, sometimes laterally over a period of time. But it gives a chance to work with different sets of business units. You build a good network. You build that relationships with a lot of people. And today, when you're in a space where you're delivering a lot of training and facilitation, all of that experience and the relationships come to fore. And you're able to leverage that as you go.
True.
It's something that you learn over a period.
Your journey resembles Virat Kohli's sticking to one franchisee for the last 18 years.
In one way, yes. A lot of people asked, does loyalty really pay? I think my question to them is, why do you even want loyalty paid? Loyalty comes without having anything, any holes or any strings attached to it.
Bang on point. Absolutely.
So why should it give you something? You don't give loyalty because it gives you something. You exhibit loyalty because it comes from within.
Right.
It's something that's been shaping. But I don't know if things change over the next few years. But yes, the journey has been great. And I'm a big believer of in the moment right now.
Fantastic.
Because like they say, a lot of philosophers say outside, yesterday is not going to come back. True. Tomorrow is not in our hands. And what you have today is the present. So make the best of it in terms of how you can.
So let's get into the crux now. The topic that you would love to talk, talent management. Mm-hmm. Despite of technological revolution, I think Indian industry is still human driven.
Yes.
Right? How do you feel it when you have to hire the Gen Zs now or in retaining them? How do you think it's going on in India? And Northern Trust being the global venture, do you also make some benchmark comparisons with the rest of the world? How do you look at it from the Indian market?
Okay, so and let's talk from an industry standpoint in general. Mm-hmm. So the whole Gen Z has become a very famous term right now that people speak about. I think all that's been alive from ages together has been talent and skill.
Correct.
Right. So finding the right talent for the right role and the job for any given organization, that's always been the forefront. Mm-hmm. So your ability to identify that right talent is where it comes through.
Correct.
How you tap into avenues and look at people who have that skill, who have that willingness to learn. Because trust me, there's only so much that you can do in a 20-minute or 30-minute interview. Right? You can't get to know the entire individual.
Correct.
You're only able to gauge whether that individual has potential.
Yes.
To come in, learn, and then give back to the organization.
Correct.
So with that, over a period of time, with so many amount of interviews that I've taken, I think it's all about how you are able to identify that talent. You're able to understand the capabilities that they come from, their backgrounds that they come from, and how they will be able to make a meaningful change for themselves and the organization. I think that's the forefront. Now, how does it change from a landscape? See, benchmarking and other things are two technical terms. It changes from situation to situation and role from any organization.
Yes.
If, of course, every role has its own requirements. For your freshers, their undergraduates come with one specific amount of skill. That skill could be very different today from what it was 10 years ago. And you spoke about humanizing. So today, how are people able to present themselves in the most innovative manner? How are people able to? And today, in the morning today, in my journey over here, I was writing an article on self-introduction.
Okay.
Just posted it. So it's all about how are you able to picture, present yourself? Very, very important, because only then would people know about you. So when you're looking for talent, you're looking for people who have that street smart, who have that ability to demonstrate the knowledge that they have. Could be very limited. And also, more importantly, have that ability to demonstrate the willingness to learn.
Absolutely.
So, and I've taken so many interviews, I can tell you, we never hire people because they answered all the questions, right? This is for all the students listening.
Viewers, please make a note of it.
Okay. So it's not about you go to an interview that you answer every single question that you crack the interview. It doesn't work that way. Interview is a dialogue, it's a conversation. It's for a person to get to know you, talk to you about what the role requires you to do, and what you're able to meaningfully contribute to the role. If we find a lot of aspects where you're able to contribute, of course we will hire you. Why will we have a reason to not hire you? But for a reason when you're not able to do some of the basics right, then of course you're not going to.
How long does Anjan takes to judge one individual? Like, yes, he is in or out?
I think the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes, with experience, I can tell you, first 5 or 10 minutes of any interview, you would know. When I go back to my business, when we did a lot of hiring of people and candidates, we hired people from all walks of life.
Have you done wrong hiring?
Yes, there have been times where we don't hire the right people. And yes, the consequences. So I'll tell you how this works. It's all about the responsibility and accountability that comes to you. If it goes right, it is yours. If it goes wrong, it's for you to manage. It's as simple as that. Has there been wrong hires through my career? Yes, there have been. I'll be all candid about it. But have you been able to, convert those wrongs into making them into something that is?
That's the next question. Yeah.
Yes. And did you learn a lot from that experience? Yes. Now, have there been some places where you're not able to make any changes? That's also yes. So it's a mixture of all.
It's a mixture of all.
So let's be realistic. That's why I say. So it's not going to be always a rosy picture.
True.
So you're going to get some things wrong, but then as long as it's not in positions where it can make a big dent, yeah, that's where you need to be wary about. So if it's
is this a misconception then? You are with a brand which is globally famous, so you're not supposed to make any mistakes.
No, I think. See, we all have to humble ourselves. We're humans at the end of the day. There's bound to be mistakes that we make in our decisions and in our actions. But then, how are you able to take responsibility for anything that goes wrong, and see what are the learnings that you take from it, and go forward?
Absolutely,
is what is more important.
True.
So, point A to B cannot be drawn by a straight line.
Yes.
Point A to B can have a lot of curves and bends. And sometimes, and I've seen a lot of theories that I read through as well, when you go fast straight, it's slower when you go through a downward incline.
Yes.
Right? So it's faster that you reach the point B. So I think it's about how you learn from what you, I wouldn't call them mistakes. I would probably tag them as learnings.
Great.
We all learn from things that did not go the way we wanted it to be. But you never know. You could have other hidden outcomes that you achieve.
Yes.
Out of it.
Absolutely.
It could help in other ways.
Right.
It could help for a lot of learning to happen. It could help for a lot of people to build their training skills, or build their acumen. So it could be a lot of aspects that could work. So I think it's important. So all that is a myth. You can't make a mistake or you can't do anything. So
I wanted to hear from this from you.
So because see, we all make mistakes. We all have aspects that don't go right for us. But what's important, there are two things you can do. Sit down, brood about it to say that I made a mistake. I shouldn't have. What was I thinking at that point?
That's wrong.
That'll be there for the first 5-10 minutes.
That's it.
But then afterwards, you need to pick yourself back together and say, you know what? Okay, something went wrong. What can I learn from this?
Absolutely.
That I can do right the next time. So
you might have heard this very famous quote in a HR textbook: "Right man in the right job."
True.
So simple. But why is it so challenging? I heard somebody saying in corporate, when you go, you always find Lata Mangeshkar bowling and Sachin Tendulkar dancing.
So
is it right?
I wouldn't fully agree with it.
You would not, because you represent the department there.
No, not necessarily for that. But see, it's not always going to be that extreme, is what I'm saying. In right man for the right job is great to have as a quote.
Mm-hmm.
But then, how do you be able to particularly be so confident that you can, with so much of perfection, find the right man? Look at it from our personal lives, right? None of us, and don't take me wrong for this, but people who get married, there's nothing called right man or right woman. Right?
Once you're married, you have no option.
Correct. So it comes from the roots. So when it can work for personal life, can work for all your other theories as well, right? So I think it's how you understand what that person is able to give back to the organization. And with your experience in leadership, you will be able to understand where the person rightfully fits in, and which also could be a judgment that you make. Not necessarily always the judgment will be right, but you will have a hindsight with some calculated risks that you take to say this could work. You give it a try. And if it works, even if it doesn't, it grooms people. It gives a chance for people to explore. And you know that, okay, this worked only so much and it didn't work for the rest of it. Let's learn what didn't work and then try to see what we could change going forward.
Now, there's a reason I asked you this question, because in my previous institute where I associated, I had a very long relation with Northern Trust with regard to the recruitment process. I don't know, even if it still exists now, we got numerous stages of interviews: round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, and final HR round. Those processes, what makes you hire the right one? Because you have grilled the candidate through all this rigorous process. So end of the day, you are very clear, okay, this is the right fit.
No, I think it's also about, so it differs from role to role, Mr. Guru Prasad.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have so many rounds for a fresher.
Okay.
You probably will have rounds for people who are in different interviews where there are global teams involved.
Okay.
So when you have global teams involved, there could be a lot of people who are decision makers, who need to be at the seat at the table to understand whether that makes the right fit for that business or not. And having that interview filtration is important, because today, I think we need to respect everybody's time. So it's important that we have a filtered set of people going to our leadership, because their time is important. So the initial filtration helps you to gauge. So the standard norms are there with everybody that we do. You have a aptitude or you have a written test. It gives you that flavor to understand if the basics are not in place, then there's no point going ahead. But for some of the other people who come with experience, like I told you earlier, it's a dialogue. It's not something where
I ask something and you say
correct. So it's a dialogue to understand whether that experience will make a lot of difference. Now, sitting in the shoes of a HR, you'll only be able to understand the basics again. The person is able to articulate, communicate, and deliver a message to you if asked, and their basic acumen is in place. You move them to a hiring manager. The hiring manager then decides and takes a call. Mostly it gets through there. The last one that comes is for a chance for the division head to know the talent coming in.
Okay.
That last round is more a round for the division head to understand whether that makes sense. And if they get any red flags at that point in time, it also gives a chance to not take that. And sometimes you also are at an impasse. If you have good talent pool coming in, and you have a lot of candidates all with similar skill sets, then it goes to that multiple rounds to say. And sometimes it also could be a fact that a role you have hired people, and when we hire people, you hire them for the organization.
Correct.
And there could be different roles in the organization that could come by. Sometimes it so happens that when you hire people within the role, if that role at that point in time, you know that they don't fit for that role, but they also would be a great fit for another role that's opened up somewhere else. That's when the additional interviews come by. So it's not about 6-7 rounds of interview. So it's about knowing where the fit is right and where it can be mapped in terms of a talent. So
last question on this, the domain that we are talking about, attrition, right? That's the biggest challenge, not just in India, everywhere globally. answer me this question, not just from the Northern Trust point of view, but the overall HR industry in India. How do you think would be the best strategies to have um, the employees stay with you for a long time? I want at least 80% of my team stay with me like how Anjan has done for the last 16 years.
Now, so this becomes very challenging to answer from an individual standpoint.
Okay.
But I can give you a generic view. So it all depends on the purpose that somebody is able to contribute to. So as an individual, if you're connected to a purpose, you're connected to a vision, you're growing, you're learning, and you're happy in your environment where you're staying. I don't think there will be a reason why you would change or why you would lose somebody. But then also there could be multiple other factors for people to be personal reasons.
Okay.
There could be, and I'm not defending anyone here, I'm being very candid about it.
Right.
There could be personal reasons, there could be relocations that could happen. And when you relocate, you don't have the same organization available there, so it becomes that. There could be reasons where somebody is getting opportunity that they find in another organization, which could be a higher opportunity than what they are doing right now. And they want to pick it up right now because that's their personal need or their space that they want to get to. So there are so many factors when it comes to people not being part of an organization. But how do you retain people? I think that's where a core of what as talent management folks do comes to play. Because it's not about conducting trainings.
Mm-hmm.
It's about driving that culture, driving that meaningful change.
Absolutely.
Where somebody's able to believe that they have an environment where they're able to learn, grow, and also add value. I think that's where retention happens and people, you stay back. Now, I've been fortunate that I've gone through my journey and I'm right here with the same space. But then the journey could be different for a lot of people. Now, why I said it cannot be individually told is no two journeys are the same.
Correct.
There could be people who move out of an organization and our own organization, and after some few years come back again. So the journey could be very different.
Correct.
So they build different niches and domains. And they come back into different domains back into the organization. So when we have attritions, there could be so many such reasons that come by. Now, it's very difficult to categorize them into why. And there are seasons where opportunities are open for everybody. And the choice that the individual makes. But if the earnest, the constant effort is always there to see how you create that culture and environment where people want to stay in an organization.
Correct.
You only can you cannot influence somebody's choice. You can only create an environment and help them understand this is what you get in return. The choice is still individual.
True.
And it could be basis a lot of other factors.
I know. Agree.
That is how that aspect
Perfect.
works.
As good as it can be. Where is Anjan wants to see in the next 10 years down the line?
Well, I'll be ambitious. I don't mind. I look at myself to be, of course, growing up in the chain. 10 years down the line, I think I definitely like to be in a senior, much more senior position than what I'm in right now. Be part of a C-suite if possible, and see how I can drive. The core doesn't change.
True.
For you to, lead, create a culture, change value, impact lives is what I'd like to be doing 10 years plus. But also, I'd like to also do something that I think is meaningful, is to give back to the society.
Fantastic.
And I think how you can do that even in the smallest way possible is something that drives me even today. So I always find means and ways to see how you can give back to the society. So, but that is something that I would probably do.
Fantastic. Anjan, this podcast, we had a pleasure to host numerous professionals, whether it is business owners or corporate professionals, typically targeting the student audience pan-India. So a lot of them watching you, maybe in their final years of their undergraduations or post-graduation, and they want to be their next Anjan, I would say, in their corporate professional life. Some tips and suggestions for them.
Firstly, I'd say don't be the next any person, be the first yourself, which is important because a lot of people have this myth. They say, I'd like to be the next Sachin Tendulkar. No, be the next yourself. I think I'll leave you with 3 thoughts. One, always have willingness to learn, be adaptable and flexible in whatever you do. And number 3 is work on building your personal brand. It could take a lot of time for it to be built. It's a journey in its own self. It's not going to be easy. But start with knowing yourself, knowing what you come with. We all have some potential in us. It's only about some time that we discover and understand that potential. And what we do with that discovery is what will make it or break it for you in your career ahead. So those are some things that I probably
Fantastic. Fabulous. I mean, I love the way you dealt it the first go. I mean, be yourself first.
Yes.
Don't get to copy others and be your own self.
Indeed.
That's a lovely message. I think the interaction was fabulous. You had a tremendous 16 years of journey. More importantly, is you're doing what you love.
Yes.
And that's why it is tremendous.
Indeed.
Right? And for you, the textbook definition goes very well. Right man in the right job.
Indeed. Indeed. And I think it's fortunate enough to be there. But again, it's how you're able to be grateful for it. You're able to express that gratitude.
Absolutely.
For being where you are. And then I think how you will learn and continuously learn is going to be something that's going to shape you and take you ahead.
Yeah. Fantastic. I think we had loads of takeaways from this wonderful interaction, I would say. On behalf of all my viewers, let me thank Mr. Anjan for spending his time here. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure hosting you, sir.
Same here. It was a pleasure being here and sharing insights. Thank you so much, Mr. Guru Prasad.
Likewise. If you haven't subscribed us, please do follow us on all the social media platforms, GIBS IRE Talks and GIBS Business School. While my personal request as well, do follow Anjan in the social media platform. You tend to learn many, many things. Articles that he shares, I mean, I'm a big follower of that. Wonderful. So, yes, viewers, please stick on to that. For now, this is Professor Guru Prasad signing off. Thank you for watching.